Hey everyone, it's Jacqueline.
And Adam.
For Pixie Dust PhD. We are now home. It's actually been a couple of months since we got back from our epic fall 2021 trip down to both Universal and Walt Disney World in Central Florida. Now that we're home and recency bias is gone from our brains, we thought we would reflect a little bit, give you a recap and some of our opinions. We'll start this series off today with some of our very favorites from the Universal Orlando Resort. Stay tuned. Let's begin with our favorite experience. So for me, it was obviously Velocicoaster.
Yeah, and it was definitely the same for me as well, but I really enjoyed going on the whole.
But wait, I thought you said you liked Hagrid's more than Velocicoaster.
Yeah, well, I did say that, didn't I?
Recency bias.
Recency bias. Yeah. Hagrid's is definitely more engaging, has a really fun story. But the Hulk is just like blasts you out of there. And it's fun.
Okay, so and then for me, if we take Hagrid's and Velocicoaster out of the equation, I think despite how crowded the Wizarding World is, kind of just being in there is always one of my favorite experiences. It's so immaculately themed. You're constantly finding new things. It's just a really joyful place to be. Yeah,
the Wizarding World, and it's like always Christmas vibes, right?
Well, I guess Hogsmeade always has snow. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know, it just takes you to another world, I guess is my point.
Yeah, and runner-up for me, again, this is true probably every time we go, is I just love Seuss Landing. I grew up with the Dr. Seuss books. Some of those are very special to me. And, I mean, we always do make it a point to do the rides, I guess, but even without that, I think that land is just super fun.
Yeah, I mean, the rides aren't worth a 40-minute wait or an hour wait like for the Velocicoaster.
Yeah.
But, certainly it's, worth the time if it's like only a 10, 15-minute wait.
Yeah, which normally I think that's about where most of them hover. So, right. I mean, when it's very crowded, they'll get more than that, but often, honestly, they're walk-ons. So I think if you've got the time to spare, I would say hang out in Seuss Landing. It's really charming. It's super fun. It's bright. It's colorful. It's wacky, and I love it. Next, fun, new to us thing that also, again, isn't Hagrid's or Velocicoaster because that would just dominate the list.
It was definitely how, this was the first time that I had been on the King Kong ride, as well as the Fast and Furious ride. And it just dawned on me that they are exactly the same ride, just in different settings. The rides weren't bad. I think they can be really fun, but, the amounts of which, like, they carbon copied it, just different theming, was very shameless and obvious.
Yeah. The ride vehicle is exactly the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. I thought, and so again, it was my first time on the King Kong ride. I really liked the animatronic at the end. I found that to be quite impressive. King Kong was pretty much a walk-on for us, I think. The queue was really long. It took a while to get through all the switchbacks, but we didn't really have to stop and wait. And so I thought, for a minimal wait, the ride was fine, kind of whatever. But seeing the animatronic was really cool, and I thought that was worth it for sure. But I don't know that I would wait, 80 minutes or whatever it gets up to sometimes just to see the animatronic. But that was really cool. It was large, imposing, very detailed. I enjoyed that a lot. All right, our doggo has come to join the party. I was also going to say in terms of something new to me, and this is kind of cheating, but this was the first time we ever had Express Pass. That was pretty cool. I don't know if it's worth paying out of pocket for, like it's often $100 per person per day, or it can be more, frankly, and that is a lot of money, but having it was really fun. Being able to experience that for the first time, I enjoyed a lot.
Yeah, it was really convenient when you had it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It just makes you able to do a lot more and saves you some time.
Yeah.
I don't think that value is like worth $100, but if you're staying in a resort hotel, which we'll talk about later, and you get that, you definitely want to take advantage of it.
Yeah, so their top tier, most expensive hotels come with the unlimited Express Pass, and so that's a cool perk. But like Adam said, I think unless you're there on one of the busiest days of the year, it's probably not worth buying, in my opinion. In general, when we've been in the past, we've been able to get done what we wanted to get done without Express Pass, but it is an awesome luxury to have. And we will discuss our resort hotel stays, sort of compare contrast between on and off property in another video. All right, moving on and away from experiences, let's talk about food, which is of course one of our favorite theme park activities. So starting with snacks, what was your favorite snack that we had?
I would probably don't know. What about you?
My favorite snack is, and this is probably true every time we go, but I would say the ice cream from Florian's. I always get the soft serve. We get a different flavor most of the time, but it has the beautiful colored on the outside of the swirl with the flavor bomb. And obviously it's very cute and fun, but I also think it's actually really tasty. So I really enjoy that ice cream. I make it a point to go. We had it for breakfast this year, which was fun. We hadn't done that before, and there was no line, which was also super fun. So pro tip, if you want the Harry Potter ice cream without waiting in the giant line, go in the morning.
So my favorite snack is probably the frozen butterbeer, but it has to be on a really hot day.
It was very sweet.
It's very sweet, but maybe you pour some alcohol in it, or you share it with a couple other people.
Yeah.
It's just a very refreshing, you need it in the Florida sun kind of drink.
Also, I think I prefer the frozen to the not frozen. Not only because of the heat, but also because I think it does cut down on the sweetness a little bit.
Yeah. Dilutes with a bunch of ice.
Yeah, and then runner-up favorite snack for me is the DoubleTree famous cookie, but I'm not necessarily going to count that since that's a DoubleTree thing and not a universal thing, but that also served us well as breakfast once or twice.
Cookies for breakfast. It's brings out my 90s kid nostalgia.
Yeah, totally.
For,
Cookie Crunch.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's do favorite quick service meal. So what was your favorite sort of quick meal that we had?
So I think the sandwich box in City Walk.
Bread box?
Bread box, that's what it's called. Thank you. Recency bias, apparently. Makes me forget the name. No, that was really good, though. It was quality sandwiches, and you can sit inside, which is important.
Yeah, bread box is probably also my winner. I'm having a hard time picking because I do love the 3 broomsticks.
Yeah.
I think the food's really good. Obviously, the theming's super fun. You get to stay in the theme park, which can be advantageous for time. But when you factor price in, I think definitely bread box has to be the winner because it's consistently like $5 cheaper than all of the entrees, I think, at 3 broomsticks. And
you don't have a park ticket, right?
Yeah, you don't have to have a park ticket. And I think the food's probably on average better. I do really like the 3 broomsticks food. I think it's actually very good, which is why it's one of my favorite in theme park locations.
I think both of those places would be like in its top tier for me. And then you'd have a Gap, and then I think most everything else.
Yeah, but yeah, Bread Box, that was our first time there. It was so delicious. They definitely made it like when we got there, so it was hot and fresh. The bread was really good, which I was kind of surprised about because at a lot of sandwich places, the bread is kind of a throwaway part.
Yeah, but I think those 2 meals for quick service were far away the best 2 had at Universal.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then in terms of drinks, we mostly only had wine. I think we only got cocktails at the hotel bar at the DoubleTree and then at the Hard Rock Hotel bar, the Velvet Bar. And that, for cocktails, I mean, that beats the DoubleTree bar by far. So actually, we really didn't drink that much, so not too much to talk about there. But let's move on to table service then. We did have a few nicer meals. Which one was your favorite?
I like to thank Magical Dining, first of all, to allow us to actually go to a bunch of these places and get some really good food. I think the best sit-down place, though, is probably one of the hotels. So I personally liked the steakhouse at the Hard Rock. What was it called?
The Kitchen.
The Kitchen, yes. So I think that was just a very good American, style upscale restaurant.
Yeah.
And we got some really good dishes.
Yeah, best Brussels sprouts I've ever had.
Yeah, and that's saying something. But yeah, no, I mean, the service wasn't great, but the food I think was excellent.
The food was super good for sure. It'd be interesting to see what that was like during not magical dining, I think, and like more post-pandemic. I know we're still in it, but as they continue to staff up, how it would be, because I think they were just slammed and understaffed, honestly. My favorite was also magical dining. So again, thanks to magical dining. If you are going to be down in the Central Florida area during that time frame, I think it runs like late August to mid or late September, definitely look into it because it was awesome for us. But mine was Islands Dining Room at the Loews Royal Pacific. We got that fantastic bulgogi steak, Thai crunchy peanut salad, one of the best salads I've ever had. The dessert was kind of fine, but like that steak was so good. It was fire. I also just really like Asian food a lot. I probably lean more towards those flavors than standard American flavors, so a lot of that's preference. I don't think like quality was so much better than the kitchen or anything. They were probably pretty on par, but I really enjoyed our meal there.
Yeah, I think the hotel restaurants in Universal are definitely much better than the restaurants for sit down in City Walk. Just I think
we haven't done
average,
that many of them.
It just feels like that's the case, although they're probably more expensive at the hotel too.
Yeah, they're pretty expensive. But in general, I think outside of Universal, just in general, when I think of hotel dining, my brain goes like, like it's probably not going to be very good.
Right.
But these were both great, so
yeah.
Hooray. Interestingly, neither of us picked Vivo Italian Kitchen, which is a sit-down place in City Walk that we basically always go to, and I did really enjoy our meal there, and it still is very good. And honestly, it's pretty reasonably priced.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't get steak, so it's hard to make the direct comparison, but, you know, you can get a pasta entree for under $20, which for, like, being at City Walk and handmade pasta, I think is pretty good. But yeah, it was still very good, but it just didn't feel as special as the kitchen or Island's dining room, I don't think.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that, you know, City Walk restaurants, they're slammed all the time.
Yeah.
And they're always making things fast.
That's the other thing too about, at least definitely at Loews Royal Pacific, a little bit less so at Hard Rock, was there's just less people around. So that was nice in terms of like a calmer, quieter dining experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Having a place to eat right after you get out of the park on a really hot day, I think can make it very good.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that we're sad we didn't get was like the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory restaurant.
Oh, Toothsome Emporium.
Yes.
Yeah,
we missed out.
I tried to book it a couple of weeks in advance, but by the time I looked, the only reservations were like 11 at night, and I didn't want to deal with that. And I know that there's like a walk-up area, and we could have gone and asked, but there were other places we wanted to try, like Redbox, so we just didn't prioritize it. But I would like to try Toothsome at some point. I don't anticipate it would be my favorite for food quality. I'm sure it's good, but I think the theming looks amazing, obviously. So that's more of an experience, I think, is why we would go rather than like the best quality food we could get.
Yeah, but other than like missing out on that, I think we pretty much went where we wanted to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, based on menu, and I think we were pleasantly surprised that the hotel dining won out over a standby like Vivo.
Yeah, we definitely booked those because of Magical Dining. I don't think we would have gone if it weren't for Magical Dining.
And if it was a Magical Dining, maybe the price would not be right to actually go for those options.
Yeah.
But it was a happy accident.
Yeah, that, like I said, thanks Magical Dining. Adam said it too. It worked out super well for us. We got to try some new places and get some really good food at like a pretty low price, all things considered. All right, and since we have clearly brought it up a couple times, let's talk about Velocicoaster and Hagrid's Magical Motorbike Creature Adventure TM, or whatever the super long name is. So both of those were new to us. Velocicoaster is actually still fairly new overall. Hagrid's, I think, opened 2 years ago now, maybe. So not that new, but spoilers are in effect for anyone who doesn't want to hear about those experiences. We were able to do Hagrid's twice. So we each got to sit in the bike and then in the sidecar. The bike is definitely better.
Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah, so sit in the bike.
If you have a choice.
If you have the choice, or make sure you go twice so you can, switch off with whoever you're riding with if you're in a party of 2 or more. Hagrid's, the whole experience I thought was very interesting. Like Adam said, it has quite the story to it. There's a lot of animatronics. I think they're animatronics.
Yeah.
Or at least very intricate set decorations. You've got Cornish pixies. Obviously, there's Hagrid's. There's that fire butt Scroot creature.
Yeah.
He was really fun. You go through those vines that like eat you when you panic, right?
Right, yeah. And you have to, it's like, you're in part of the story
Yeah.
by you being on the coaster.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun.
And this is a real major spoiler if anyone doesn't know, but it's not just a straight normal track. You don't just move through the ride. There's a point with which you stop and go backwards, kind of like Expedition Everest. There is a drop, which I really wasn't expecting. The first time through, I thought that was so cool. And it still was really cool the second time, but obviously I knew it was coming.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like, it throws you off balance, and it's just a lot of fun.
It's really engaging. I am very sad that Dueling Dragons / Dragon Challenge, whatever
Right.
they called it once Harry Potter came in, is gone because that was one of my favorite coasters. It was one of my first real, like, big kid roller coasters I ever rode. I did get to ride it forever ago, like over a decade ago, maybe 2 decades ago. Oh my god. When they were running both at the same time and you got to do the loops, like, and you were racing. Like, that was the point, is the red and the blue dragons were racing. And it was so cool. And I mean, obviously, like, Hagrid's is not the same. It's not a thrill ride like that. It's much more appropriate for more ages and more heights. It's a lot less scary.
Yeah.
So in my heart, I am sad that, you know, a thrill ride is gone. But I do really like Hagrid's. I think it's a good addition, particularly to that part of the park.
Yeah, I think it fits really well with all the theming in Hogsmeade, and it's just a really fun ride.
Yeah. And then so for Velocicoaster, obviously that's just a straight up thrill coaster.
Yeah.
You go upside down a bunch of times. There's 2 launches. The theming that's there is just throughout the track. They place some raptors and then they pump the noise in of the rawr, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pretty much it, which is fine with me. Like, you don't have time to be looking around anyway. But I really appreciated the way that they designed. Obviously, I love the ride, but the line. So part of it does go outside, but actually most of it's inside, which is super nice. And they have these giant fans on the ceiling, so it's really great for that Central Florida weather. The other thing I really love that they did new for this, which they didn't do for Hagrid's because that was replacing an existing ride, whereas they built this whole structure, is that the locker situation is very different. So for most rides with lockers at Universal, the locker is outside the ride. You have to go through, put your stuff in there, and then you go through the whole line. And if it's more intense rides like Rip Ride Rocket or the Hulk, they'll run you through a metal detector when sort of close to when you're entering the line. So if you have keys or your phone, it'll beep and you get kicked out of line. You have to go put it in a locker. So when the lines are long, you're sat there with nothing really. You know,
Yeah.
some people bring sunglasses. I think that's acceptable. And like a water bottle maybe, but you're just chilling in line and it's hot and kind of boring sometimes. But at Velocicoaster, you go through easily 2/3 of the line with all of your stuff. And then you go to a locker room, you put your stuff in the lockers, and then you go, you know, pretty close to the load area. And what happens is when you leave the ride, the lockers, I think, are 2-sided, so you put it in on this side, your stuff, and then when you come out, you're on this side, and you just open the door from this side and take your stuff out. So I thought it was a really great intervention to their locker system. That was the first time we had experienced that. I don't think they have anything like that on any of the other locker rides.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like, as soon as you put your stuff away, you're like in the room with the pre-show.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, so you've been waiting for an hour and a half to get to this point. You know, you've had all your stuff. Okay, put it in a locker, and then it's like 10 minutes of pre-show. And
Like
then
20.
Depends how fast the lines are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you are in the pre-show room. There is things to look at. It's a little bit more engaging. You're not just in the boring part of the line, particularly when you're out in the sun. You don't have to worry about, oh, am I going to finish my water bottle before I ride the ride? Because you can have it and then put it in your locker. Like, it just made the whole experience a lot smoother and a lot easier. Although I will say, we did, and I saw a lot of other parties ask, like, yo, where do I go for lockers? Because we're so trained to put our stuff away in the locker before you get in the line. So I'm sure that's annoying for the team members, and it's a little bit of an adjustment for us guests. But I think that's great, and I hope as they continue to rebuild new rides that they do this system instead.
Yeah, I really liked going single rider at like the perfect moment for Velocicoaster. What I mean by that is they would open and close the single rider line, and if like it was fully full, they would close the line and then let it like peter out, and then they would open the line and back up again. People were just like waiting for that line to reopen, and you still saved, you know, probably almost an hour.
Well, I think it depends. So we got in the single rider line once when it was... Okay, bye! We got in the single rider line once when it was about to close, and it took us almost the full posted wait time because they don't need a lot of single riders. So it took a long time to make it through. There's just like one lane in a hallway and then lockers and then the room. It took us a while to get to lockers, but then we did it 2 other times, and yeah, we got through in like 20 minutes. I think we got through twice in like 25 minutes, and the posted wait time I think was close to 40 minutes. So I think it depends on just the demand for the single rider line. But similarly, I mean, same thing with the lockers is you get in the line in the inside part of the queue and you wait. And then once you're at the front of that, you go to lockers, you put your stuff away and then you're in the room and then you just have to wait to get on the ride. So I really love the whole experience. Obviously the coaster is phenomenal.
Excellent. Yeah.
But then the rest of the experience I thought was really good too. And that's not something I can say about a lot of the lines at Universal. I don't like the Hulk line. I find to be quite boring. And sometimes it gets really hot in there and it's just not that entertaining. And you have to put your phone away and you have to, you know, put everything away. And, you know, I normally don't even bring a water with me because I don't want to have to chug it right before we get on a coaster. So yeah, Velocicoaster just improves on like, it's a great coaster. It's a great system. Fantastic. I'm so happy about it.
Yeah, it was awesome. I really loved just how pure of a thrill ride it was. It's so smooth. I mean, you're really like, you're in there, you're in the harness.
Well, no, there's not.
Sorry, you're like...
There's a lap bar.
There's a lap bar. But, and then you have like the whole ride situation around you to like, I don't know, you're flying all over the place, but it feels super smooth.
Yeah.
In your seat.
The point, I corrected him because there's not the typical over arm harness. And I think that really adds to the experience. Like it felt so freeing on parts of that ride to just have the lap bar. But I felt super secure. It didn't feel like not safe. But it was just nice not to have this and like the rickety head thing or anything. So yeah, it was great. I could gush about Velocicoaster for days. Those were some of our favorite experiences and foods that we ate at Universal Orlando Resort. We did spend about 3 days there. There was a half day, 2 full days, and then another half day. I thought that was a good amount of time for us. There's definitely always more you could do and see, but we were able to do just about everything we wanted. Most importantly, including Velocicoaster and Hagrid's, which we were able to do twice for Hagrid's and 4 times for Velocicoaster.
Yeah, no, I agree, Jacqueline. Those are definitely the 2 headliners, and then, you know, I always love a good coaster going on the Hulk when it's not super toasty. The line.
We also did the Hulk twice, so that was nice too.
Yeah.
If you have any questions about our experience when we were down at Universal, definitely leave a comment down below. I would love to share our opinions further if that would be helpful for you. Thanks to everyone who did leave a like on this video and who has subscribed to the channel. Remember, you can ring that bell icon to receive notifications whenever we post new videos. And if you want to chat outside of YouTube, you can find me, not Adam, just me, at PixieDustPhD over on Instagram and Twitter. Like I said earlier, we will definitely talk about our stay at the DoubleTree and our stay at Loews Royal Pacific, sort of compare and contrast and work through our feelings on if we feel like staying on site at that deluxe level is worth it or not. Frankly, I'm still not entirely sure. So look forward to that video and there will be plenty more coming. We hope the rest of your day is super magical and we'll see you real soon at Pixie Dust PhD.
Bye!